City for a change. We haven't been pelted by any snow, hail, wind, as our show tends to do. Hello to Secrets of the Sire fans out there everywhere. We are growing by the day, by the hour. It's always great. Hello to the Periscope peeps out there. Booster Greg just joined. We had someone else on and just asked about the Avatar movies, and we're going to get to that because that's the topic of the day for us. But a little house cleaning. We are, of course, live every Friday on TalkingAlternative.com, but we have exciting news that we'll actually be moving to a primetime slot starting in May. And, yes, Buff Man Whore. Uh-oh, did we just get booted off YouTube for that? I hope not. We are a dope radio show. We are live on TalkingAlternative.com, so you can actually listen in, and you're actually viewing it as we record. So we appreciate your patronage. Secrets of the Sire is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/Secrets of the Sire. Sire is spelled S-I-R-E. Secrets is spelled like what Secrets normally is. And you shouldn't have a problem with that. You can also go to secretsofthesire.com. Check out our weekly blog. This week we'll be touching on a number of different things. So welcome to all the Periscope peeps. Welcome to the YouNow peeps. Everyone out there. We have an awesome guest coming on who was actually a guest a few weeks ago. But with the unexpected news of a very, very interesting crossover and the announcement of a ton of movie sequels coming up from a particular franchise, I thought it best to invite someone who actually has been on the inside. Welcome, Jersey Jedi. Welcome back, actually. It's great to see some of the recurring Periscope peeps, tuning in and being able to kind of check us out. What a wacky, wild world we live in with the movies right now. I'm joined always by our engineer, Sam, and we have a new body in here as well. His name is George, and he's helping out backstage. And George actually rushed that episode and checked out Batman v Superman because of all the wonderful turmoil and the hot debate, and had to for himself. So we actually initiate action among our listeners, even if the listener happens to have to be here because he's working. But on that note, I was going to pick up the conversation exactly where we left off last week and talk about the DC movies. However, all of a sudden I read on Thursday, Men in Black is crossing over with 21 Jump Street. And the movie is now MIB 23, and they're going through with this. It's crazy. On top of that, Avatar is not just coming out with a movie sequel. It's not just coming out with 2 movie sequels, 3 movie sequels. It's going to come out with 4 movie sequels. 4 movie sequels for Avatar. We haven't had one in 7 years, and now he's going to be shooting 4. So, talking about Avatar, we're going to bring on Jeff Gomez. He is a transmedia guru. We're going to bring him on in our next segment. He's going to give us a little behind the scenes. He has sworn to secrecy about any plot details, but I'm curious about the inner workings, and maybe we'll get something out of him anyway. He also, his company Starlight Runner, created and crafted a story universe for Men in Black. So I am really, really fascinated to find out how the heck 20 Jump Street and Men in Black ended up crossing over. So here's my take, and here's how I think it ended up happening. We'll use a little football analogy for anybody that knows me. I actually write for Inquisitor.com. I write all about pop culture on there too, but I'm a huge sports fan. I'm a huge NFL guy. Big Jet fan. Yes, I know. Cue the weeping and the violins and all that stuff. We've had actually a pretty good run. We just haven't won a Super Bowl, but that's okay. In football, you see a lot of copying, right? I mean, you obviously, look, if you have a great quarterback, and we're using this as an analogy, so follow me along. If you have a great quarterback, you win, that's great. However, a few years ago, you had the Seattle Seahawks come in and pulverize a great quarterback in Peyton Manning. And when they did, the very next year, all you saw were a bunch of teams, a lot of teams, building their team. Because, look, great quarterbacks like Peyton Manning don't come around all the time. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. You don't have these great quarterbacks everywhere. So using this analogy to the movies, Seattle laid out a blueprint for how you can win a Super Bowl without having a great quarterback. Now, they do have Russell Wilson, turned out to be very, very good. But what ended up happening now is, again, all these other teams started mimicking what the Seattle Seahawks did to win the Super Bowl. move it over to the movie universes. Marvel movie universe is the Seattle Seahawks of the movie industry. They have quietly built up around their characters. They don't build around a star. They don't build around, obviously you had Robert Downey Jr., but to be honest with you, Iron Man reinvented Robert Downey Jr.'s career. I mean, it reinvigorated it to the point where now he was able to kind of go into that upper stratosphere of actors. He was better known for his arrest history than his movie history up to the point where he was in Iron Man. So count that out right off the bat. You actually even have stars jumping on now to Marvel movies because Marvel movies are so big, but when they first started out, they were not. They were the Seattle Seahawks of the movie industry. And what they did with Iron Man and with Captain America and with Thor and then with the Avengers movie was prove that, hey, people want crossovers. Or actually, hang on. I'll rewind a second. What it proved was you could lay out a foundation to have crossovers in movies. You could lay out a foundation to have all these great characters that people have known and loved, these IPs that people have known and loved, and bring them all together, and then you could actually plan out something really extraordinary. And it proved it with Avengers. Avengers hit the bank running. I say the bank running because, the exact figures was, 600 billion worldwide, something like that. Some crazy number. I'm obviously recounting from memory. I don't actually have it right in front of me, but that's the kind of preparation that we do on Secrets of the Sire here. We guess based on all of our geek knowledge that we intricately and intimately just process and never get to use, except unless you have your own radio show, in which case you get to use it then. And what everyone now did, DC now did, Sony did as well, and you can even look at the same analogy with Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy that he put out, where it was dark and gritty, and now we need to be dark and gritty, so Sony said we need to make Spider-Man dark and gritty for some reason. But again, the analogy is just this. Whatever works, you're going to have 1 million followers and copiers doing the exact same thing, and that's the analogy, and that's what I'm trying to get across to you. Marvel laid this foundation for crossing over all these characters into movies, and now all these people want to jump on. Segueing right back into what our conversation was last week about the DC Universe rushing to get to where Marvel is, rushing to put a Justice League movie together, rushing to get all this, fanfare and hoopla around their Batman, Superman, that they ended up making what many consider to be a subpar movie. I consider it to be okay. George liked it. George is actually sitting next to me. For the Periscope peeps, you could say hi. There's George. And Sam is over there as well, too. That's for all the Periscope peeps. If you follow me on Periscope, it's at Michael_Dolce, D-O-L-C-E, like Dolce & Gabbana, so you can always find me online and find me on Twitter.com. And go follow me, because I'm always putting up some good stuff as well, too. But anyway, getting back to the DC debate and how it's just a reflection on copying what works, but a copy of a copy is never as good, right? If you take a photocopy of something, it's not quite as good as the original. There's always a little degradation, and as you go along, that's what happens. So now we circle back to MIB 23. MIB 23. Now, okay, I'm going to take one step back, and from a pure, zaniness, Jonah Hill, Channing Tatum, Will Smith, maybe Tommy Lee Jones. I think they're out from the preliminary, from what we've heard. They're actually out. They're not in right now, but maybe Josh Brolin. Maybe they reinvent the whole thing. Maybe they bring Linda Fiorentino back. Who knows? Maybe they bring, or maybe they just invent a new Men in Black. Whatever. The concept is cool in that sense from a fan point of view. It's kind of like, okay, I can get on board with this because it's going to be funny. It's going to be interesting. It'll be, how ridiculous is it going to be that they're going to have Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill basically become Men in Black? That's essentially what it is, right? It's essentially a new Men in Black movie. Studios make movies they feel to have a market. That's it. That was one of our Periscope people, and I apologize because it just faded as it went, but it was Ava something. I will be sure to give you a proper shout-out on Twitter later. In the comments on Periscope, I will 23 Jump Street in Black, X_leave just tweeted over our way. Yeah, it's crazy. There is a market for this in a sense. Yes, in a sense, I'm actually kind of very fascinated by this because it's such a crazy crossover. In a sense, you can look at it from a positive and say, look what Marvel has done now. This would never have happened without the Marvel movies. This would never have happened without the Seattle Seahawks beating Peyton Manning. And now, ironically enough, Denver Broncos with a not quite stellar Peyton Manning ended up winning the Super Bowl based on the exact same foundation that the Seahawks beat them a few years ago. So maybe Men in Black 23 will be this year's version of the Denver Broncos. Is Ice Cube replacing Zed? Jersey Jedi asks. Good question. Don't really know if that's going to be happening or not. I think at this point everything is open to speculation at this point. So I don't know if there's anything that we can say with any definitive yes or no. So we're going to have a lot to talk about. We actually have, like I said, Jeff Gomez returning. He's our first return guest here on. Maybe not return. Actually, maybe not the first, because we've had the boys from Bad Coyote Funky call in on a number of occasions. So. But the first planned return guest is Jeff Gomez. And speaking of the Bad Coyote Funky Bunch, we're going to do some more house cleaning before we get to Jeff Gomez. We are going to be doing another joint podcast / talking alternative radio show with the Bad Coyote Funky Bunch. I'll be announcing that next week. And starting in May, we're moving to a prime time slot. So every Periscope peep that has gotten used to seeing me at 11 o'clock every Friday. Maybe I'll do something from home on Periscope, but you'll also get a chance to see me Wednesday nights at 8:30, starting in the second week of May. I believe the date is May 11th. I want to say something like that. So just laying the foundation. We'll make a grand announcement on our social media pages as well. Want to give a shout out to my boy Buddy Scalera, who wrote Deadpool back in the 90s. But in addition to being the writer of Deadpool, he also has done a number of amazing creative book projects out there. One of those is Photo Reference for Comic Book Artists, and it is back in print. Basically, I'm an artist myself, so you can catch me at different conventions. I was just at the Camden Comic-Con. I'll be at the Hudson Valley Comic-Con in May 7th and 8th. I'll be at Wizard World Philadelphia in June, and I'll be at San Diego Comic-Con in July. We're going to try to figure some cool thing out to tie into San Diego Comic-Con while I'm out there as well, too. And, of course, New York Comic-Con, I'm there every single year. But Buddy's book, Photo Reference for Comic Book Artists, is back. You can go to comicbookschool.com/photo reference book republished 2016. And you can check out everything. Basically, for artists, it's a must-have. It basically has all of the comic book poses photographed out with real people, real models, had bodybuilders and weight trainers to get the right proportions, so it's not just normal people doing the normal poses, but it actually was a great reference for any artist, any fledgling artist, any established artist. Doesn't make a difference. So go check that out at comicbookschool.com. So coming up next, we've got Jeff Gomez from Starlit Runner. Starlit Runner creates story universes for companies like Sony. And they were actually had a hand in crafting the story universe for Men in Black and for Avatar. So what better person to talk to about these two new announcements that just happened this week than going straight to Jeff Gomez. So when we return, we will be talking to Jeff Gomez.
Okay.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.
Whose voice?
And coming back.